Boom. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ashley and Sirr show. Also,
Hi, everyone.
potentially known as the other side of the broom.
The other side of the broom, the jumping broom, that is marriage, being married.
Or the name could change. But that is where we are today.
That is where we are today.
That is where we are.
But once again, we like to just, this show was really started to put another black love, black couple out on the forefront because we felt like a lot of times they were always saying there's no representations of, married black couples out there. And we don't feel that way. So maybe we just have to put ourselves out there so the world can know that we do exist, and we aren't what you see on TV, like we aren't that.
Depending on what you watch.
What do they watch?
Well, if they watch Blackish, we're
Okay,
like
one. Yeah, there's
they,
nowhere to go from there.
If they watch Love and Hip Hop, you know what I'm saying?
Please, really, that's an example.
You got some WAP?
Anyway, Jesus Christ, this is why I drink, guys.
I'm saying Cardi B, you know what I'm saying? You be Cardi, I'll be
No.
I'll be Stevie J or something like that. You be a little sneaky mouse looking player.
Okay. Anywho, we're gonna get right into it. So tonight's subject is about the business.
The business.
The business. I like it. No, it's fine. The business of marriage, though.
The business of marriage.
Business of marriage, and we're gonna come at it from two angles here. So there is the contract of being married. So once you actually sign legal documents, what does that entail?
Right.
And also from another perspective of actually being in business together as a married couple.
Yep.
So my husband comes from a long lineage of business owners, and it's in his blood, it's in his destiny to be an entrepreneur. Okay. So coming into our marriage, he was very, very much so business minded. He didn't come at it like this is love, for love is a factor, but other than that, it was so many other things. And me, I will say time and time again, probably every episode of this show, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I just was like, okay, is that what we're doing? Fine. Like no idea, no expectations whatsoever. Just, that sounds good to me. Oh, hell no, I ain't doing that. It's one or the other, but
yeah. That was the journey. All right.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. We don't have expectations, but whatever.
So as we're approaching this conversation, I think there's something that's extremely important for couples and people to understand. Let's start there. Let's start at the couple place, right? And I think that when you're looking to get into a relationship with someone and build something with someone long term, you gotta kind of almost look at it like a business. And it sounds counterintuitive, but the reason I say that is because marriage essentially is a business. It's two parties coming together, deciding to bring their economic status and their family status, social status together for the goal of doing something, right? And I think sometimes we can get lost in these whimsical ideas and not think about, well, after the love is gone, what the heck are we gonna do? I gotta sing everything. If I could only sing.
If only
I could.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I came into marriage not thinking like, oh, this is a business. I was very much so, I was like, oh, you're getting married for love. And then that quickly changed for me, but I think it was because we both were trying to come into the relationship with something. And like we definitely had like our love agreement, call it our love agreement.
We hopping around though.
What?
Okay, let me do this.
Okay.
Let me get to it like this. All right, so in the beginning, where I think a lot of couples miss relationships or miss the ability to create a long-term relationship or to level set your relationship to where you can really grow is they miss the idea, and we've talked about this before, the idea of like aligning visions together.
Okay, that's where we're starting.
Yeah, you got to start at the beginning, right? Yeah. So you build a relationship before you can build a business together, right? And join forces together, which is a business, right? Before either of those things, you must first align yourselves together. So if one of you wants to have a simple life and everything is very calm, the other person wants a jet-setting city life, like your visions are not aligned. It doesn't really matter how much you like each other because the compromise process is going to require you both to give up so much that neither of you will be happy, right? Unless you just have childish vision, a childish view of the future, and you're not ready to let go of childish things, which once again will lead to childish activities at the beginning of your relationship that you may or may not survive. So the question at the beginning is, all right, outside of I want a ring, outside of I want a fancy wedding, outside of whatever, and for the guy, outside of, whatever.
Thank you. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Outside of you bad, outside of I want to take you off the market, outside of you got my kid, whatever it is, you got to figure out why you want to be together outside of those things, right? Like what is your goal in life as a man independently, and what is your goal in life as a woman independently? And I wouldn't even say, and how do you bring that together?
I think that's very daunting to say in life. Like, I think there are little nuggets in life. In nuggets is like it's a good example of in life. Like, I don't know, I can't think of one that'll sound like on point, but it's just like I like to take like in steps. Like, give me 5 years, 10 years, because in life, in life it's just like, yo, you could lose a foot, and now you want to run a marathon in life. You ain't got no foot. Now, it's just something.
You can hop along.
Yes, but not in the marathon that you were planning on getting into. You know what I'm saying? Things could happen.
I don't know, what was it?
Like I said, it was. It wasn't the best example, but it just gives you the idea of like how what we do is we check in. We have this thing where we want to check in. We said like every 5 years we're gonna check in. It's like, all right, you still down for this? You still down for this? And I think that's very important to check in with your partner, because I don't know who he's going to be in the next 5 years, and I don't know who I'm going to be in the next 5 years. But when we started this relationship, we did ask each other, where do you see yourself being? And it was very similar. How we got there, he had a vision of how we got there. I had a vision of how we got there. And it was like, okay, well, since where we want to go is pretty similar, the way we're going about it may not be the same, but hey, how about we do it your way for this time, and how about we do it your way for this time? That's where the compromise is. The compromise is not in the goal, like where you see yourselves, like I want to live on a farm, but I want to live in the city. That's not where you compromise. The compromise is, hey, how do we get to where we're going? And if your plan, if your method of getting there does not work, it's no biggie. We got plan B, which is my plan, and it's still gonna get us to where we both want to go. That way, you're not fighting over, the big thing rather than the method. The method is the easiest thing to kind of change up when you decide to merge your lives, and also you have this business transaction that is marriage.
Right. So as you're jumping, I'm with you. So as you're jumping into the marriage, right? Or before, right? As you're getting ready to go to marriage, first off, in the planning process, you're trying to see if your visions are aligned, if you're on the same things. Do you want the same things? What does that look like?
That's really hard to do within that dating time frame.
I mean, because well, marriage is something. Proposals happen from a 6 months to 2 year, period, right? Yeah. So you got time to figure this out.
But I don't know, for like a year
of dating.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you are my longest relationship, so I don't know. I can be quiet. I can be quiet.
So. We only 32. I mean, we can't. Both of us is our long relationship.
I know, but I'm talking about when I was talking about in the context of is a year enough to really get to know someone and decide you want to marry them? There are a lot of people who have gotten married in less time and know everything about each other.
Well,
I don't know how that's possible unless they were like speed dating.
I think guys figure it out quickly.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I think we figured it out quickly. I think as men, we know very fast whether or not a woman is marriage material, right? And if she's someone that we can see ourselves with. I think the challenge for us when we're young is we may be scared to step into that at that age. If you're 22 and you're like, oh my God, she could be my future wife. We know. We'll turn around and put her in the friend zone. We'll turn around and, we'll deal with her, but we'll kind of deal with her at a distance. We won't treat her like everyone else. And she'll be feeling like, why are you treating me like this? And then she'll go, typically you lose her. She goes on to find someone else that treats her the way she needs to be treated because she's wifey material and she knows she deserves more. And you knew that she deserved more and you just wasn't willing to give it to her because you wasn't ready to go there, right? And we know when we're young, we don't do anything about it. And then when you get a little bit older, when you see it again, or maybe you see it for the first time when you're older and more ready, you pounce on it. So 22, 23, 24, you might miss it. Or you might see it and let it go. But by 25, 26, 27, you know what it is. Either you're running from the game, right, because you still want to have fun, or you're going to jump in. And if you're a person that still wants to have fun, by 31, 32, 33, 34, you realize, God darn, all the wifey material girls is disappearing. Mm-hmm. I can't even find a wifey girl material in my age bracket. I got to date down, right? What you started realizing, because when you was 27, 28, 20, or 25, all that age, that range there between 25 and 30, you were noticing that some girls around you were starting to date dudes that were 35. Mm-hmm. You were seeing it then because them 35-year-olds ran out of options because all the wifey material women started disappearing and falling off the market. Mm-hmm. And they were left with all the girls that were trying to play because you had that group of women that are like, oh, I'm about to get my degree and I'm about to, I'm about to turn up, I'm about to do me for a couple of years. I'm about to figure out who I am, build my career, this, that, and third. And really what she means, I'm about to go fuck everybody. And so now you're 35, you looking at all these chicks that done ran around and fucked everybody and you're just like, I got to go down to 20, whatever to find it. And so whatever, men know. Mm-hmm. We know. And so it's just, was he ready or not? He knows. And so I feel like a year is not crazy. Okay. I don't think a year is crazy because you'll know ASAP. It's just like when a woman knows, oh, he can get it. Mm-hmm. Men knows, oh, she could be the one.
Oh, okay.
Like we know, but we about to just put you through the shit to find out. I think we know.
Okay, I guess.
No, give it to me. Go on, do that. Don't do that. No.
I really don't have an opinion on what you said. I really don't.
You don't?
Mm-mm. If that's what you say it is, I can't speak on it because, like I said, I'm like, all right, whatever. It's hard.
If I think about
that is my rebuttal. All right, whatever.
If I think about all my friends that have gotten married, mm-hmm. all of them without doubt knew that the chick was special, and they were all like slow rolling it, like, oh, they just were slowly walking towards the light the whole time, but they all knew she could be the one, and then she ended up being it anyway.
Okay.
Anyway,
if that's what
maybe y'all.
I don't have the male perspective.
Okay.
I don't have the male perspective. If that's what you say, that the males are thinking when they meet him right away, I personally don't feel like I can speak for all women because I feel like we're all trying to be chosen in some facet. And like my personal experience isn't like many others. So like me going into it, I would once again say I had no expectations. Like, I really wasn't thinking, oh, he's the one. Have I ever thought in my life, that's me. That is me. Like I said, that's why I said, all right, but me, I know. Oh my gosh. Like maybe when I was like 12 and like looking at Justin Timberlake on my wall on a poster, like, oh my God, I'm going to marry him. Like, realistically,
I don't want you to think that it's like we see a girl at the bar and you go, oh, that's my wife.
No, I didn't say that.
No, it's not that.
No, it's not that. I'm saying it's this girl that you've been dating for a while. But like even with you, we were in a house. No, not in a house. We were, I don't know what part, but we definitely had a royal by then. And by that time I said, oh, I'm gonna marry this man. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it wasn't like any time before in the midst of dating. Like we weren't dating that long, but I never really said like I'm gonna marry this man. Like even when we said May 17th that year we got together as boyfriend and girlfriend, did I say that day that I'm gonna marry this man? No, but that's me.
Well, I don't think that as men we go, and I can say for me, but just me talking to other guys, I don't feel like we go, shh, I met her, I'm gonna marry her. That's not what we do. We go, she's wifey material,
right? Because of what she's done.
Yeah, we can put you on that playing field.
Or who she is.
How she presents herself. You know, like you can. I've met women and be like, oh, she's wifey material in the first encounter. Like
I don't know,
within a 30-minute to an hour time frame. She's wifey material.
So yeah.
But then you got to go from wifey material.
But think, now let me ask.
All right.
Some people who find out later that they're not wife material, do you think that was because they rushed or projected that she was because they were ready? Like, what if she really wasn't?
What if she was not? What if she was not? What if a man is rushing wifey material and the woman is not?
Yes. Like, that's because of that year time frame.
So you're saying, I'm going to get it together. So you're saying a guy meets a woman and feels like she's wifey material, but the whole time she's not. And he just got confused. Oh, I think that happens often enough to a dude that, I don't want to call my brother suckers or whatnot. But
call y'all sucker.
I mean, but like if you have limited experience, then you can get played out kind of like that, right? I've seen that. I've seen women play dudes out, and it's normally a dude that's not as social as everyone else, hasn't had as many experiences as everyone else, and therefore he doesn't know, or he was trying to have a certain look, or he grew up with a lot of women and didn't have a lot of male influences to tell him, hey, this is a wife and this is a hoe. He don't know the difference, right? I mean, these are things that got to be explained. If you don't have like male figures in your life, you don't know. And if you're not a social person to meet other men to talk about these things, then you just don't know. So I've seen guys that just don't know fall for that. But I ain't seen no dude that like knows what's up fall like that. I've never seen a dude that's like he's had some type of experience with women. He's dated women. He's been out. He's been around. And then be on some sucker shit.
Okay, so now that we have, you want to be aligned with that person.
You want to be aligned.
You want to see the goal. You want to see the goals together.
Right.
And then what's next? What's next after you see the goal?
So I think, in my opinion, you let me know how you felt about it. I think when you actually decide to get married, the marriage process itself is a business. Right?
Okay.
Because, I don't know how deep you want to go into this conversation, so I'm going to let you guide some of this.
Okay.
Right? But the way I looked at marriage is that there are two sides to marriage. There is the love between God and the couple. And then there is the marriage that the state has created, that the United States government, if you're in the United States, has created between, husband and wife, that is a contractual agreement that has different parameters and rules and regulations. And my view of relationships is that that both of them should be handled accordingly, that the relationship between a couple and God should be, if you are a religious person, in Allah or the universe or however you look at it, that should be handled with the spiritual rules and regulations, and it's typically an event of love, right? And asking the heavens to accept you into the union, things of that nature, right? Accept your union. The law of the state is a business in itself because you are getting ready to agree upon how your assets are going to be combined or divided. And it's not just assets, it's also debts, right? When you get married, if one of you has $150,000 of student loans and the other one has 20,000, when you get married, both of y'all got 170 now. $170,000 in student loans going around, right? So like, I think there are real conversations that have to be had about debt. You know, if it's not, you know, I think rich people get together and their marriage conversations are about what are we going to do with our assets. And I think middle class and broke people get together and the conversation has to be what are we going to do with our debt. You know, I went to med school and grad school and this school and I ain't got a job yet. And you out here in the workplace, but you went to this school.
Real.
You know what I'm saying?
That's real. That like literally. It's sad to me that these aren't the conversations. This reminds me of Bridgerton all over again. Show on Netflix. Like these are the conversations that no one is telling you.
No one is saying you should have
before marriage. Like, yeah, no one is actually having these conversations with their children. You know, like with their children. What is the conversation that your mother had with you before deciding to be someone's wife? Or what is the conversation that your father had with you when you decided to be somebody's husband and vice versa? Like, I do not even recall someone telling me, oh, you're going to take on this man's debt. Well, if somebody told me that when I was daydreaming about getting married at 17, 18 years old, I would have been daydreaming totally different about marriage. But that is one of the things that you have to think about and have a conversation about. Like, you could love his dirty draws, but if he comes with buku debt, that's on you. Like, it's not cool. But I agree. It goes both ways. I agree with that aspect of marriage, and then the contractual part of assets, and then what was the other one that you read? The other part of it.
What are you talking about? Arbitration when you're trying to, if there was divorce type things, like how you have to do therapy or
yes. Well, see, no, that was the Jewish law.
Oh, Jewish law.
So real. When we did our love agreement, he combined different prenuptial situations from different areas. So we kind of made up our own, and then we got it all legalized and all that stuff. Kind of made up our own. But he pulled it from like the Jewish one, which I really like that one because it was like basically we can't just break up. We got to go to counseling, and then so many times, and then after so many times, then the licensed therapist has to officially write a letter to the judge saying, you know what, they suck together. They need to get divorced. But we can't just say, I'm done with you and get divorced. We just can't do that. So we have it written in that we have to make it work, figure it out, do all the stuff, the healing, kumbaya, and do that. Right. So if you want to, that's some people don't know that you can actually
write your own agreement for your relationship. And so, you
write it when you love each other.
Right.
You write it when you love each other because it's like if you do anything in anger, you're gonna do extra shit just because
out of spite,
out of hate, or to just being plain old mean. Right? So when we did ours, it was before we got married. We were, off bachelorette party, off of the what's the name, and we're getting excited. I'm trying on dresses. He's getting ready, yada yada. We're going down to the notary, talking to a lady, like, oh yeah, baby, we're gonna sign this. And then, but now when push comes to shove, and if we ever, whatever, we're gonna look back on this and be like, I think when I saw it, I was like, we're gonna look back on this and just like, shit, we really don't want to break up, do we? Like it's like a whole bunch of lock and keys before just to get to the divorce door.
But I think the key of it was there's a lot of levels to it. So starting where you are, I think the conversation was we need to talk about money, and that ain't got nothing to do with love, right? And mind you, we're having this conversation when it's not like either one of us are making some super excess amount of money, right? It's just being aware that we got to talk about money, and I think that comes partially from me having a mindset of excellence and wanting to achieve, and so I'm already thinking in the future. But it's also understanding the present. When I started looking into prenuptial agreements, The data said that women were the largest drivers of these types of contracts in today's society because of student debt. And then I started going down this rabbit hole of learning how student debt aligns with your this and that and the third. And then it's like, oh wow, I see it. And so
You said women are actual one who
women
are getting them.
women are pursuing prenuptial agreements more than men because women are being cognizant of saying, I will not take on your debt.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Which was there's a whole energy of confliction there because men are like, well, you'll take my money, but you won't take my debt. What's going on with this and that? But we're living in a time frame where women are doing really good in life. And women are like, hey, I'm doing well and I don't want to carry you. Which kind of goes back to what men were saying before. Like, I'm doing good in life. Why do I have to carry you? And I think that as this whole equality thing happens, all of us are starting to understand both sides of the pendulum. And we're able to have more enlightened, educated conversations, right? And as we're putting this together, it was like, okay, I care about this woman. She cares about me. How do we create something that signifies who we are and what we want to do and how we can make this work? There was a bunch of like nasty agreements out there and I'm like bypassing these. And there's a bunch of agreements that are religious based. I'm trying to pull the best from those. And there's a bunch of agreements that were kind of even killed. And it was like, how do I take all these agreements and put them together and create something that says, no matter what we do, we're going to try.
Right.
No matter what happens, we're going to try.
And what we bring to the table will be what we bring to the table, even within the businesses of our marriage, like our household, and what we bring to the table in the businesses that we start, it will be equally yoked.
Yeah. Because we came together in a space where we're building together. So we met in our 20s, and so we're building things together. Therefore,
I'm still in my 20s. What you talking about?
Go on, girl. Go on, girl. My 25 didn't count.
Continue.
All right, so we're in a stage where we're building, and so there's components where, when we do our businesses, for example, she has ownership in business, I have ownership in businesses, but the way that we do our businesses legally in the business itself, we've already split the businesses up a certain type of way, right? But from a marriage perspective, we wanted to make sure that even if we separated, that the one person could not take advantage of the other person. Right. However, one person could not leave another person destitute in the same scenario, true. And that we give time frames that allow both parties to win if there was a scenario where we had to walk away. And I think what made this conversation easy to have is that we're both having this conversation from a place, like you said, of love, where we both care enough to go, I wouldn't do that to you. You can't do it like that. No, I wouldn't do that to you. You can't do it like that. Well, how would we do this? Versus having that conversation in a state of spite when you're angry or something, or having the conversation from a state of authority, where if I was saying, I'm this person, you're going to sign this, or she's saying, I'm this person, you're going to sign that, it was a joint conversation. And I think that every single couple should pursue it, because you'll be surprised of all the BS that is in your local and state laws that are antiquated shit written in 1930 that you're agreeing to that makes no sense read at all.
And he reads everything, so
I read everything. Like when we was in the hospital giving birth to our children, and I found out what was in the agreement. I'm in the hospital just reading contracts, like, what the F are y'all making me sign? Because these agreements have not been reviewed in so many years. They're so antiquated, and we live in a modern world that's changing every single day. And as you get ready to bring your empires together, this is the house of spearmen coming together with the house of Sorrells. And what are we going to bring forth? How will we interact socially, financially? What are we building together? That's the agreement.
And you know what I feel like was missing specifically in the Black community, right? When you said that, I wish we could have that Game of Thrones vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like Black communities have that.
Yeah. We don't have legacy.
That community, like I feel like every other culture gets married, like even back in the day, like in Africa or whatever, like two tribes that had a son and a daughter, and to not create division, the marriage signified to union of the tribe, and now the tribe is now one, and now they're a stronger army, because now that my kids are married, if anybody fucks with us, You gotta bring your soldiers, and you gotta bring your soldiers, and we all got to fight together because our kids are married.
Because we're
right?
united. We protect
We're
one
united,
another.
right? And that in itself, that is business. That is the business of families. And yo, like we out here, it's sad to say, we out here getting married for love. Like,
It makes
we
no
out here
sense.
getting married for love, and that's all good and dandy. Like there are so many of those people who with arranged marriages that found love later. But I was saying we were watching this show. It was that ABC Family with Raven Simone. We really liked it when she was a bridesmaid, and a girl was only marrying this man because he came from this kind of family he ended up not having no money in real life. But she was about to marry this man that she did not love because her family wanted to be connected to his long lineage and family. There was no love involved. It was sure, this is my destiny. This is my duty to my family. And black people, we don't really have that duty to our families.
Well, I think as a culture, we're constantly being sold random BS that has no substance to it. We're constantly, like, as a culture, we're constantly going to the next whim of what's hot, what's the next thing. And when you look at
There's no tradition.
there's the traditional values, and what is it that we stand on that we say, nah, we're not doing that. You know, that's not how we move. That's not who we are as a people, as a culture.
We season our chicken.
We do stand
That's
on that.
that's our tradition.
We stand on that.
And
clean your chicken, too.
And clean it.
CDC, I don't give a fuck what y'all talking about. CDC was like, you shouldn't clean your chicken because it can make your sink dirty and make your other utensils dirty. What the fuck?
They clean the sink.
They clean the sink. If the chicken make my fork dirty, and if I eat off the fork, I can get sick, then if I eat off the chicken, wouldn't I get sick too, bro? Anyway.
But they said because you heat it up. We get up. So because you heat it up.
No, I don't give a fuck what y'all talking about. Clean your chicken. Anyway.
But yeah, so it's like, it's just certain like traditions with our food. But when it comes to marriage, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I think of Asian cultures like that too.
Yeah.
Asian cultures like that. Like,
everyone that has culture is like that, because
like that.
The purpose of family and culture, if you look at it, it's like, all right, we're all individuals trying to survive, right? And as individuals, you come together, right? And as you come together, you start to have conflict over who owns what, conflict over who's beefing with who, conflict over, resources and all this type of shit. You get conflict. And one way to solve conflict is to say, we can't fight anymore because there's family here. Mm-hmm. I will not fight, because you develop a sense of family for survival. Right? And I will not attack my family is a core rooted human principle. I mean, it happens as murderers and weird people, but like it's the general thing, right? That you don't attack your family. Like, if the two warring tribes come together and give birth to a new child, it's like, well, I'm granddad, you granddad, and goddamn, okay, I can't kill you no more because our grandson gonna have a problem with it, right? And that's the two of our beefing tribes, that is our lineage. And it's not just tribes in Africa, that goes into empires in Asia, that goes to empires across Britain and the UK.
We need to understand that we are tribes still. We are tribes of people, and taking it seriously when you decide to marry somebody and bring it down. Because you were talking about fighting, like before we got onto the Game of Thrones thing, talking about merging your, not your finances, but your the contract, with the prenup, deciding on finances and talking about money.
Yes.
The conversation about money is so important. And I think like if you're starting a business together, like your spending habits, like what are your spending habits like? What is your debt like? And that lets you know how that person will, go forth leading your family, how your husband will go on leading your family, and what avenues. Like, I would not, if Sir did not show me when he had nothing, he showed me what we can do with the little money we had. Like, we take $25 and have a good old time that week. You know what I'm saying?
We did make a $25 stretch.
We made a $25 stretch, buddy. It was great, but
did we lose that? How do we get back to making $25 stretch?
How do we get back to it?
I don't know. What do we do? I don't even remember. We had fun off $25.
We didn't go nowhere. We really didn't go nowhere.
It was the lack.
It was the lack of.
So then when we did something,
there was
like,
it was like, yo, gas in the car. If we go somewhere on this, then you can't go to work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it was like that.
It was like you can't go to work. So we had bootleg, and we had movies, and we didn't have kids though.
No.
You know, so it's like we were just, it was just us. It was just us, and we didn't really have, like, no one was really going out, you know, because we was all pretty broke.
It was all young.
All young and pretty, like, not where we are now, you know?
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, just having, and that might be a hard conversation, because it's like, I love him. I don't care if he's this. You will.
And that's a tough conversation in general.
I love her. I don't care. Yes, you will.
When you talk about marriage, like I said, there's two things happening. There is a love event, and there is a financial event, which could be about debt consolidation. It could be asset consolidation. It could be trying to figure out the two. It could be a lot. But in that scenario, it's a conversation that you should have. Why should you wait until something goes wrong to have a conversation about what could be right? You know, I just feel like these conversations are not had.
Especially if you're ready to get married. Like, especially for a person, like, if y'all are completely comfortable with each other, like, I cannot stand it. I feel like I've said this before. I cannot stand it when I hear people saying that, I'm just going to wait until we get married and then have a conversation. That is ridiculous.
The worst time to do it.
It's the worst time to like, the thing is, you like, well, what point in time should I say it? I wish, like, my eager self wants to say first date, but then you might look crazy. So don't do that.
Not the first date.
Do not do that, please. But it's like, you'll know. You will know when you feel like, you know what, I feel like I could talk to you and ask you anything. He like, all right. Or she like, yeah, babe, please open up, tell me anything. Now, whether or not he or she responds to this question, period. Like, how they respond, we don't care, we don't know. But how they respond, period, to the question is going to let you know volumes of who they are and their character. Volumes. If they diss the idea of this serious question, they may not be for you. Only thing is that, hey, they might not be the one, and you have to walk away. And that is the sad part that people don't want to deal with, so they stay. And that is not what you do.
You stay in a situation.
You'll stay in a situation. You got your answer, and yet you stay because, like, what if I leave? I have to start all over. All right, rewind. Like, you want to spend 5 months or 5 years?
All right. So
I can't.
So let's say you get past this. We're talking about business. So it starts with the initial business thing is, are our visions aligned? Do we kind of want the same things? What are our goals? Because my company and your company are coming together, like, and we got to be aligned with what we're getting ready to do, right? And that's a big piece of it. Like, you as a business, him as a business, which means you got your own stuff going, he got his own stuff going. It don't got to be huge. You just got general ideas and visions and work ethic and all that stuff. You bring it together and then you expand together, right? And that's the goal. And then in marriage, you go, okay, how are we going to do this? And it's an easy conversation to have when you barely have nothing, right? It gets harder and harder the more you have. But the more you have, the more you should be able to communicate, the more knowledgeable you should be. It should get easier on that level, right? Now, once you are together, if you go about building a business together, so I think that's what we was trying to get to, right? And I know we spent a lot of time on the other part, so we have less time for this section. But as you're trying to build a business with each other, the new challenge becomes, okay, it was one thing to see the vision. We saw the vision, but once you cross the finish line, once you jump that broom, it's now about, okay, what are the actions? What are the steps? Okay, let's wake up in the morning. Let's look at the board. What are we doing? What are our finances? We have accounting meetings to go over our finances, to determine our budget, to plan out for the year. What are all the trips you want to take?
You kind of have to take off your wife and husband hat.
You do.
For a minute. Like, we are not lovers and friends. We are business associates. Like, if we had a cubicle, it'll make it feel more permanent. You know what I'm saying? Like, like for real, like you have to take it off, especially if you want to run a business together. And I feel like I was we would sit and we would talk a lot of the times, but I feel like prior to our system now, it was still like my husband is talking to me about our finances as a household. Versus now, I feel like, all right, sir, pull it up. We sit at the table like it's a conference table, and we have a meeting, and we call it a meeting, and we take notes, and this is a the meeting for our life. Like Royal has swim practice, and Sire has that. That's a totally different conversation.
And how much does that cost, and where are we pulling that money from?
That's a totally different conversation.
And how much we pulling? Okay, we're putting her in private school. How much is that? What does that break down per month? If we do that, do we have to cut anything else out in our life in order to do that? What adjustments do we have to make? Are you willing to give this up? If you're not willing to give that up, then what are we going to do? What's more important? How do we prioritize? Right? These are all these are real, like you said, they're financial meetings. It's like numbers, and I'm an Excel guy, so it's numbers in Excel, looking at okay, how much are your checks after taxes? How much are my checks after taxes? That's what we got coming in. Plus any other investments. Are we going to use our investments for our household? Are we going to reinvest our investments into other projects, right? And if we choose to reinvest our investments, okay, we have less revenue coming into the home. Therefore, how does that impact what we're going to do? We got a cleaning lady. Can she come twice a month or once a month? Can we keep the cleaning? You don't want to tell the people we got a cleaning lady?
Oh my God, I was just thinking I want her more.
I thought your face was like, don't snitch on me.
I want more.
No, she's dope.
Last time she cleaned the house, so it was like, he laid on the floor like, I forgot how good she was. Oh, my house is clean.
You walk around your house like,
I can eat here. But no, I was gonna add to
you
your
put bacon on the wall.
Shut up. I was gonna add to I forgot. It was about playing to your strengths as well.
Oh, that's a good one.
Playing to your strengths as a couple in business together is very important. Like, I know where I stand. I'm not trying to take over his job, especially if you are two people who came, and this is more so people who came in as powerhouses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will not try to take over his thing because I don't know what he's doing. He can't take over my thing because I'm the creative. I am the detail oriented, puts things together, and he is the planner. Now, sometimes I can come in and plan, but it just depends on what it is. But I know my role. He knows his role. We don't overstep.
But we're both executors.
Yes.
Like, we both execute the plan. There is no one executor. No one person is lifting more weight than the other.
But that's the thing is, if neither one of you are executors, then more than likely you're not trying to start a business together.
If neither one of you are executors, then you shouldn't be married. You should be getting your life together.
Well, it depends on what they're trying to execute.
No, if you're not an executor, first of all,
what are they executing?
Execution is like, who's gonna take the kids to school?
Okay. I'm talking about business. Like,
in business too, execution is like who's gonna file for the company? Who's gonna file taxes? Who's gonna file for the business?
But I mean, I think
those are tasks.
I think a conversation about who's taking the kids to school is a given.
A task is a
no
task.
No one's gonna stand there and be like, I don't know who's gonna do nothing.
No, thing about it is,
like,
the way I see it is that in business and in life and in relationships, there are tasks.
Yes.
Some tasks are easier than others.
Yes.
What makes a task easy sometimes is the amount of knowledge or amount of effort required to achieve it, right? But just because you don't have the knowledge, right, does not mean you can't achieve a task. Right. You have the internet. There is no task that you can't achieve. You just choose that you don't want to do it for whatever issue you never overcame as a child. That's what it is. And let that sink in. I need to do this thing. I'm frustrated. I hate this thing because you didn't overcome it as a child. And it's real. Sir,
that explains why you don't want to wipe down the countertop?
I don't want to wipe down the countertops.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to wipe down the countertops.
Something happened as a child.
I didn't get over that as a child. That's what it is. It's how it is.
But yeah, I think
don't give me that task. Countertops will be forever.
The next step is after, like, I'm playing to your strengths is very important. Execution is very important. And then
holding yourself accountable, holding each other accountable for execution and deadlines and timelines.
holding yourself accountable, like checking in, like we try to, in our marriage, we try to check in. Like I think our long-term marriage agreement is like every 5 years. Hey, you still down for this? Yeah, I'm still down for it. You still down for it? And then like on a
yeah, and then the agreement structure where we can rewrite it every 5 years.
Oh yeah, we can't rewrite it every
5 years.
And then I did a post about this recently, is about checking in with your spouse mentally, like every other day or every week, because like if you're not having, a lot of couples aren't having date nights, from according to my post, like oh, we haven't had date night in a long time. Like date nights are so important. Like we try to put them on the calendar. Like we're gonna go spend some time with each other so we can check in, because there's some times when we're doing our own thing for the longest, and then we can only touch base. We try to touch base at least once a day. At least once a day we try to touch base. We more than likely touch base.
When you say touch base, you mean the meet and touch base? You mean like the love relationship side?
We touch base meeting wise like once a day.
Yeah.
But like just talking, that's all day, because we do them around each other. But I'm talking about like meeting wise, and then like doing like a mental, hey husband, how are you doing with everything that we got going on? Checking in, because it's like you don't, in that vulnerable meeting a little bit, they could tell you, all right, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that.
Like today. Like when I was like, you good? And you was like, every time I see you in a shirt.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what? And then let's stop. And
let's stop and talk about it.
Let's talk about how
but
you're feeling.
Also, if you're feeling some type of way, one thing I've learned throughout my marriage is that if I feel some type of way, I have all autonomy to just speak, just to say it. I don't feel I used to feel timid about it, but now I'm not. When we had a conversation about, like, I've been transparent. Like sometimes I feel like I can't talk to you because I feel like you'll judge me. And he was like, what? Like, why would you feel like that? And it was like, all right, well, since you asked, I'm going to tell you. And so now I feel like, all right, if I feel the type of way, I cannot walk around this house not saying it, because it's not making me productive, because I'm thinking all the other shit that's taking my mind off my work.
All this other shit.
So go ahead and just say it. Like, it's so important. Like, the fear of your partner judging you, that is not, I kind of want to say that's not your fault or your problem. Like, that is a them thing. If they judge you, if you coming to them with a I feel or I think or whatever, it's a conversation. It's not to jump on them. It's just telling them how you feel, especially when it comes to any shortcomings you may have in the business of your marriage or the business of your actual business. So
yeah, and speaking to that, someone has to be vulnerable first. Just from a communications perspective, I'm in sales and all that type of stuff. Like, being empathetic, like showing empathy, starts with showcasing your own flaws and being willing to take whatever comes with that. And someone has to open the dialogue from an emotional perspective to say, to admit. And honestly, a lot of times, men, if we're able to be that person, like, you'll be surprised with how your counterpart will respond in a positive light to that. Because
it's not expected.
It's definitely not expected, and you have to be able to open up and say, well, this is where I suck, and this is what I need to work on, and this is what I am going through, or whatever. All those different types of things allow you to create a space where the other person will feel more comfortable expressing themselves, and you guys can build something. But this is just, this is communication, and maybe we should do a video on just like a communication techniques or something like that. But when it comes to building a business, because we kept y'all for almost 50 minutes at this point. When it comes to building a business and growing as a couple, recognize that your relationship is a business and that your journey to establishing marriage should be a business, and marriage itself is a business transaction, and the relationship from there is business. But that does not disclose or that does not overcome or overshadow the love in the relationship or the communication in the relationship or the camaraderie or the support support.
Love and camaraderie should be the driving force of those conversations.
Right. But business is the framework that allows you to select better, to create a structure document-wise that will last longer, and give you a framework from a day-to-day perspective that will allow you to succeed together. And so business principles are important because in America, in many countries throughout the world, marriage is literally a business agreement.
Ditto.
That's that.
So that's the show for this evening. And thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. We love to keep the conversation going. Give us your thoughts, your agreements, your disagreements, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.